Hi, this is Gloria, your life coach. Welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.
Hey, this is Ron Johnson, your life coach, leadership coach, personal trainer, health coach, and don't forget, motivational speaker. Welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle. Today is a topic that probably is on everybody's mind, and obviously it's all over social media, and it's all over the world, more or less, is the George Floyd incident that happened in Minneapolis. And today we're going to talk about, today's topic will be about racism. And that plays a huge part of history, right? When did racism start? How was it designed? How is it categorized? So forth and so on. Okay. So, those that haven't done the research and don't know, racism didn't start until the late 15th century. Okay. So, anything 13th century and 14th century and below that, we don't know the difference. Racism. Now, there's two different terms here. Let me break down racism like this. Racism now, when we think about racism in the modern 2020, we think about color, right? Black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, so forth and so on. Okay. But that's not how racism originated. Racism originated when people of different religions. So I was Christianity and you're, let's say, from India and you're a Hindu. Well, Christianity is better than Hindu. That's when racism started, is a difference in languages and religion. But over time, racism has changed from not just difference in languages and religion, but now the color and pigmentation of your skin. Certain people that are deemed darker, while some people are deemed light, develop a category. The thing about this is that most people don't understand is that racism does not come from God or spirituality. Racism comes from the fact people, as human beings, including myself, put people into a category and a subcategory. And that's where you develop a racism towards religion, a racism towards ethnicity, or a racism towards culture, because now everybody has to be in a category. And more importantly, is that racism exists because someone wants to be superior to somebody else. Perfect example, European white wants to be more superior to anybody that's a non white. And that's how really racism originated, was from religion. People want to be separated or people want to be dominant over somebody else. So, Gloria, what do you think about that?
There's so much things to say about racism, especially now that if you went back to, what racism was really and how it started. Um, these days, racism's different, and we grew up around it and learned differently also. So racism is still, to these days, is like a major issue in our society. And in fact, I think it appears to be on the rise, right? Um, So you're talking back or looking back at the history of racism. Then today's racism now is what it is. What is it nowadays? It's discrimination or hatred, right? Directed at someone because of their color, ethnicity, or their national origin. Um, it can come in many different forms, from harsh comments to offensive actions, or in more extreme cases, racism occurs in public spaces and comes from strangers and can escalate to violent or hate crimes. I mean, when it comes from strangers, I can r- relate to that because I have experienced that. And then again, also keep in mind that not all racism is public and obvious. It can be discreet. It could be happening without even knowing that someone could be hating you or not, or doesn't like you because of your color or your ethnicity or just who you are. And I think where that comes from also, when people has feels that way, it, it might have something to do with what messages they've received as a kid, how they were brought up, about people who are different from them. um, what was their social and or ethnic makeup of their neighborhood or school or or religious community. um, think about that and what was the case and why that was.
That is certainly true. It's funny that I always said this, and I said this on so many podcasts, that we all are connected. We all are the same. Now, someone may have a different religion, a belief, cultural background. At the end of the day, if you need a new kidney or heart transplant, you don't care where it comes from. You're trying to save your life, right? At the end of the
Hmm.
day. But why does society or people, it's people, not in society, have to have a category? Why does someone have to be better than somebody else? Like if you go to college of Harvard and you go to say San Jose State, how can someone that went to Harvard has to be better than someone that went to San Jose State? But why does it exist? Why does those categories in a society exist? I mean, if the objective is to get a great education, become better as a person, become better as a human being, contribute to the universe, why does we have to separate people? Why does someone that has certain experience is more superior to somebody else? If we're a society and we continue these kind of habits of segregating somebody based upon now the skin of the color of the skin, I think now it boils down to what school you went to as well too. That plays a part in that.
Hmm.
Family background. I mean, we're segregating ourselves daily, and all we gotta do is change our mindset, meaning that someone is a human being, they're a human being. Okay. I remember I grew up in San Diego, and these terms are used when I grew up as a kid, and it describes certain people. So if you wore the Chuck Taylors, the Dickies, high rise socks in my school, you were considered Hispanic, or Cholo or Chola, whatever kind of gang that was. So now we created a category where if you wear Chuck Taylor shoes, or Nike Cortez, and knee high socks and Dickies pants and a flannel, you're deemed Hispanic, or deemed a Cholo or Chola, whatever they call it. But because now we create another category. So people that wear that are deemed this category. Let's talk about kind of car you drive. If you drive Mercedes Benz, you must have money. If you drive a beat up Honda Accord, you must be broke. So I'm not going to talk to someone that drives a crappy car, right? We have
Hmm.
formed another category right there. And we don't know. Maybe that person is really wealthy. They just don't care about their car as much, right? When a person has a BMW, Mercedes Benz, may say to himself, well, I need to have this, show my status, but they can be broke. We know that to be true. Okay. Just because what you drive does not mean in reality. Just because someone has a Mercedes Benz doesn't mean they have money. They can be leasing the car. We know that too. So let's go back to racism. Why does racism really exist? Why does it have to happen? When I did my research, I was really astonished because remember, my level of perception for racism was just skin color. But it boiled down to one thing. It boiled down to first start off as a religion. Second, it started off at now, when the Europeans started going to different countries, then started saying, well, we want to dominate their race. It started as that. Then it came down to propaganda. If a person acts a certain way, looks a certain way, that's going to be who they are. So create another category. So humans create their own human suffering. If we didn't have the human suffering as far as people put in categories, there'd be no suffering at all. Then the funny thing is, people want to say, I'm a Christian, but you're a racist. I mean, our racism exists. It exists in religions. You got Christianity as just Christianity, but then you got Baptist, you got Catholic, got Jehovah's Witness, you get everything into Christianity. And even in that sub religion category, you got people that say, well, my religion is better than your religion.
Hmm. Why can't we just all be Christians?
Why we can't always be spiritual?
Right?
I mean, now, there's one thing I want to bring up, and this is how I come from this. So I grew up in 1983 is when I was born, and I grew up in the 90s, 2000s. And my dad told me something I'll never forget. I had to be 18, 19 at the time. And when I meet people and talk to people, they always would say, you know what, Ron, this happened to you because I tell about a story. Oh, it happened to you because you were black. And people walk around a lot of that on their shoulder because this happened because of my skin and my color of my skin. And my dad told me something I'll never forget. He said, so let me tell you something. I'm black, you're black. Okay, good. We know that. But don't let that hold you back in life. Don't ever let the color of your skin hold you back. So that when people tell me, oh, this happened to you because you're black, I can't relate to that experience. I'm not saying that I have not experienced racism. I can't relate to that experience. This happened to me because I'm black. Because my dad taught me and instilled in me at a very young age, you cannot allow your color of your skin to hold you back. His words were, break a piece off that pie. But in other words were, don't hold you back from success in life. go out there and figure it out because he did it. He came from the 50s. So when you think about that, what we think in our mind, how much is played true into reality in life? Okay. I'll give you an example of something. This happened about 3 years ago. I was at a gas station. And you got your car, and what happens, right? You see his pump number, whatever. You walk a few feet away. I mean, what pump number was that again? Turn back around. You look. Okay, so in my case, it's pump number 4. I go inside. I'm waiting in line, and there's a big window. And I looked to my right, and I saw his cop car coming. Came in, made a little turn. It kind of went back to my car, and it stopped for like 10 seconds. I mean, it was so fast. He did something to the computer, drove away. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna pull me over. And I pay for my gas, come out, pump my gas, and I look around and I don't see the cop. I'm like, phew, okay, good. I don't see the cop. And I pulled out, and guess what? He's right behind me.
Mhm.
When I get to Major Street, he pulls me over. Okay, pulls me over to the side. And I don't know if he saw me pull in. I don't know if he saw the car. I don't know if he saw something wrong. I will never have an idea, but I'll tell you this. So he pulls me over, and I pull over. I pull out my driver's license and I pull out. No, I didn't have it. No, I didn't have that. I'll tell you that instead. When I said I didn't have that, I'll tell you why instead. Give me his driver's license. And the truth of the matter is, my car wasn't registered. I did a small check, and it's been some time, and I was facing financial hardship at that particular time. You got to go pay for a small check, it didn't pass. You got to pay for other equipment in your car. It wasn't registered, and I just had standard liability insurance. And the cop pulls me over, runs my driver's license, and obviously I have no record. Comes back to this, you know what? We're busy tonight, and here's your driver's license. Get your registration fixed. I don't want to see his car again. I shook his hand and said, thank you. And he was a white cop, and I was a black guy. And I told someone else about the story. He said, pull me over because you were black. It relatively could have been true. It could not have been true. It could have been simple things. My registration was updated, and I got pulled over for that.
Mhm.
Because you know what I was doing? I don't know if I told this story before, but I was facing financial hardship. So what I did is I stole someone else's year tag. So, like, say for instance, 2020, I stole off somebody's car, put it on my car using glue.
Mhm.
It didn't look right, so he could have caught that as his eye. Or there's a hotel right next to the gas station. There could be a lot of prostitution going on. I will have no idea. But the point is that I could have constructed every excuse in my mind why this guy pulled me over. I had my ID, obviously, of course. I ran my background check. I had nothing. She go and let me go. Was that form of racism? I will never know.
Right. But in other people's eyes, and you tell that story, what's the first thing out of their mind?
Oh, he put up you're black.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
And then that's because that's the kind of society that we live in now. And here in America, it's it's been crazy.
It really has. And the funny thing about it, it's not that it's crazy. What we're experiencing right now has always existed. It's just that now with social media, with everybody having a smartphone, it's now not only is it hearsay. So before years ago, before we had social media and smartphones, all that stuff, it's hearsay. Cop versus a guy. Okay. Well, the cop always is gonna get the justification because he's a cop. He doesn't lie. People lie. Okay. Even cops lie. So now it's being videoed. It's being photographed. So now you can't hide.
Hmm.
So why we think this is a big thing? It's been going on for centuries. Centuries. It's documented.
It's just changed a lot now. Now it's more like stereotyping too, right? Um, so again, we go back to categorizing everybody. I mean, in reality, how it is now is that our differences as human beings are bigger than what we have in common and have little or nothing to do with our personality, intelligence, or morality.
That's true. And one thing you said is really true. All of us human beings are common. None of us are uncommon. We all are common. We all are the same. It's human beings that create category, subcategory classifications of a particular race or creed or whatever they want to come up with. They create those. Because if you need a new kidney, you don't care where it comes from. You need a new kidney or a new heart or whatever it may be. But it's human beings that create that stuff. So what does it mean, Gloria? How would it be if human beings did not create categories and subcategories?
Will be one.
And what would that look like if you were one?
Uh, um, we'll be all equal. We won't see anyone as different from me, different from you. And like I said, I talked about, about a lot of things that we may have in common. We won't be looking at others' differences. We won't be looking at each other as we're all humans. All humans, we have something in common. Something, as you're saying that, um, something stood out to me one time when I was reading this, and there was this one that Barack Obama had once said. And let me just quote on that. He said, "Even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us, but there's not a Black America and White America and Latino America and Asia America. There's the United States of America." So,
Look at
what was that?
that. Look at that.
Right. So that kind of just ties in of what you've asked, because really we're just one. We're all humans. We're all the same, regardless of your color, your skin color, your hair, your eyes, where you're from, what country you come from.
It really does matter the difference. If we were all just one, what I visualize is a better world. I visualize non-judgment. I visualize a change. I visualize the power to the people, like Martin Luther King said, "Power to the people."
Hmm.
You know, I want to touch on this George Floyd thing. It's really ironic. We live in a world where everything we react to, we react to everything. We react to anger. We react to judgment. We react to every single thing that happens. We just react without a thought. And when we think about this George Floyd, man, it was a sad thing that this guy lost his life. It's a sad thing that he was somebody's brother, he was somebody's mother, somebody's sister, he was somebody to somebody, right?
Hmm.
And I don't understand, to create a movement and change, the worst thing to do is react to something out of violence and anger and frustration. Now, inherently, of course, you're angry. Of course, you're upset. What happened, right? Why does this keep happening to people? Why do people get hurt? Why does a police officer have to be? Why do people have to take the power of authority and abuse it? Right? Why does it? Why do you have authority over me? I'm a human being, so are you. We put one pants on at a time. But one thing I will never forget is someone posted on social media, and it was Facebook, and it was a description of Martin Luther King in the '60s marching, then a comparison of Minneapolis in 2020. I'll never forget Martin Luther King quote. He says, "Brothers and sisters, today we're going to dress in our best Sunday clothes. That means you come out there in your shirt and tie and your suit. We're going to be hand in hand. We're going to march." And his marches were non-violent. Minneapolis people need to understand, or people in general need to understand, not Minneapolis, is that yes, you're upset, but why do you got to destroy and loot and rob?
Hmm.
Okay, I saw one newscaster talked about that, and the first thing you see is a black person, black people looting and robbing places. Now that's what I saw. Could it be another race doing it? I didn't see that, so yes, it probably could be. But here is how, again, someone in a different state watching this is now saying, man, when black people get upset, they loot, they rob, they pillage, they commit crimes.
Hmm.
You create another subcategory. If you want to create a change, you don't react to change. You create change from peace, love, harmony, respect, and with understanding. When you come from a place of curiosity and understanding, you personally will now get yourself more knowledge. See, everybody has a different journey in life, and they're at the point they are because of the journey or decision you've made in your life. So when you meet someone that has a different journey, different experience than you, the first thing you want to do is be curious about them. You have no idea what they experienced. You have no idea what they've been through. But if you have a curiosity with understanding, you'll be able to learn something. See, when
And
you
that's
look at
why.
the,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
That's why in this case, everybody is a victim. Everybody's life is forever changed. The police officer that stood by didn't do anything. His life's forever changed. The person that committed the crime, the police officer, his life's forever changed. Their families' lives are forever changed. The victim, George, his life's forever changed. But how can we come together and have better understanding instead of reacting out of violence? Because nothing comes good out of violence. You want to create a change, doesn't create a change. No one listens to violence. But if everybody was take the stance of Martin Luther King, brothers and sisters, dress in your best Sunday clothes. We're gonna march hand in hand, and we're gonna make a change. That comes from love. That comes from higher energy. That doesn't create an opposite force of reacting to what you feel is wrong to you.
That's right. And also that instead of judging somebody already, right, by their looks, their religion, whatever it is, based on what we hear and based on what we see in society and how our society is now, and or stereotype. We know we all have certain stereotypes in different race. Why not change that and change the way we think and act, and and challenge others to do the same? Maybe ask questions, um, figure out, or like what you mentioned earlier is about the history behind why that person is the way the person is,
Mm-hmm.
instead of judging them by, let's say, again, the religion, the color, wherever they're from. I mean, is this something that, let me change that. This doesn't have to be the history we leave for our children or the next generation. We can work on this together, um, to make sure that this is our home to equity, dignity, and justice for everyone. So whether it's hardships, whether they're physical or emotional, are part of the path to positive change. They can be overcome. So the color of the skin should not prevent anyone from having a voice. And just as our physical appearance or name should not exclude you.
Yes, amen. I give amen to that because I may not be able to change what I want to today, but I will be the change itself.
Hmm.
I want to live one day where I can look at a report or job application, whatever it is, and not see a box. What race are you? You got to check mark that. But it doesn't matter. If I'm going to do a job or I'm going to apply for something, it shouldn't matter what race I am. That should be eliminated, period. Because then someone may say, well, I don't know about this person. Let's see, right? You know, the more and more we take out the big word judgment in our lives, judging the religion, judging the color of skin, the language, whatever it may be, the more you realize yourself that you have an abundant amount of peace instead of judging. You don't judge someone's looks, if someone's overweight or someone's skinny, someone's buff, someone's not. Just don't judge. It is as is. You come from a different level of power in that sense. And I hope our future generations, my kids included, will become that change. Will come from a different place. It may not change the next 300, 400 years, but maybe 500, 600 years from now, it will start to create a better change because now I'm bringing about a different change in our mindset and thinking. The better our thinking becomes, the better we as a society become better. The better we become closer together. Segregation in terms of religion, culture, background, race, whatever. Because it still does exist, even though racial segregation is not a law. It still exists, and I think in some states it is a law probably 200, 300 years ago.
Hmm.
But we ourselves can become that change by being non-judgmental to somebody else because it's completely different. The learning process is a continuous thing. You meet someone, you learn something. You meet somebody, you may have a new insight. You meet somebody, you may meet a new best friend, regardless of what race they are. But the terms of, I grew up in a different sense where I was considered the oddball. And I never forget, people was telling me, Ron, you're not black enough. You don't act black. You're not this black. And it, you think about that stuff right now. And as a kid, it's like, I need to fit in, I need to fit in. And I'm so desperate to fit in, fit in, fit in because you hate that term. You want to fit in, right? You don't be left out.
So the question is, have you ever questioned what is black to you?
I have no idea what that means.
Exactly, right? So they
I
tell
have no
you
idea.
that. They tell you you're not black enough.
Hmm.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying is I would that's something that I would ask. Like, what is black? What is black to you? Why are you telling me this? And because that's in a lot of race, like the same year, you're not Filipino enough. So what is Filipino supposed to be like?
Yeah. If you Google the definition of that, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but go ahead.
But very important point. At that time as a kid, you trying to fit in whatever society deems is the right to fit in and trying to desperate to do it. Holy cow. When I was trying desperate to fit in, to be black enough, trying to wear saggy clothes, trying to wear the oversized shirt,
It's
the
not
do
you.
rag, the Timberlands, jeans, I mean, the gold chains and all that stuff, right? Guess what happened? You're right about it. I didn't fit in. I was even wearing it felt awkward, but you're just trying to fit in. You're just trying to be part of
Yeah,
something. When I stopped doing all that crazy stuff, listen, now I say crazy for myself because it wasn't me. I feel much happier. I don't need to fit in.
yeah.
Now I live my life with not trying to fit in, but just be a part of the society, a part of the universe, and have my own beat to my own drum and my own sound. Just be myself. I don't want to fit in. Why want to be like somebody else? I want to be myself and unique because then I draw a unique crowd to Ron. That's the best thing there.
It's funny that you mentioned that, and we talk about skin color. And I myself, as I'm considered light skinned for a Filipino, right? So as you look at other Filipinos, they're usually darker, right? But the thing is that not every Filipino has the same skin color because there's different islands in the Philippines. So it depends on where you come from. My family comes from an island who maybe are all light skinned, right? So growing up around a lot of Filipinos here, a lot of them are darker skin. And I remember when I was younger, I just now that I think about it, I think it's so funny. Um, I didn't like my skin color because that's what was put in my head that I was too light to be Filipino. And being around a lot of them, I was the lightest one. Not that I always thought there was something wrong with me. It was just, I didn't I started not to like my skin color. So I remember every summer, I would always look forward to summer, and I'm always out trying to get a tan. Out in the sun, I want tan because I want my skin color darker. And I would get one of those tanning lotion, right?
Hmm.
And it would be the highest number, the darkest one there is. Put it on me, and then I'd sit out in the sun, we'd go to the beach or even just sit by the pool, just tanning. And it never really worked for me because it's just it worked slightly. I would never have gotten dark as I wanted to. But what had happened was I have sensitive skin, so then my skin I would just burn, right?
Hmm.
And I would still try until to a point where I just remember one day she's like, "You know what? I'm not going to go through that anymore. It's not even worth it." And it's just I was okay. I was okay with my skin color, and I was fine with, my eyes are maybe not round enough. I was fine with it. And I was categorized as a different type of Asian, which, some would look at me and either start speaking to me in their language, let's say Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, you know, um, other type of Asians. And I would constantly tell them, no, I'm not, I don't speak that language. And again, it was okay. I just, anyways, that was just a funny story. I just thought it was funny that I was once doing that, and how looking at that and how you try to fit in. I was trying to fit in. Um, it had affected us. it had some type of effect in us emotionally.
Hmm.
And we didn't know that. We didn't
It
realize that.
did, and that's why I created a different person because it's you're so as human beings we don't want to be left out, so we try so desperate to fit in. Then one point in life we said forget about it. I'm not going to try to fit in. I'm going to be myself. And it usually happens when you're older, 30s and 40s and 50s. Say screw it. I'm
Yes.
not trying to be like anybody else. I'm trying to be like myself, whatever your self is. Once you're explaining about your story about darker skin and being Filipino, what came to mind is I was dating this girl very briefly, maybe for a couple of weeks. I don't think we're dating to see each other. And she was Filipino, and she had a son that was half black, and she dated black men. Right. So here comes me.
Hmm.
I remember in having conversations with her, she used the N word.
Mm.
So eventually I tell her, I said, look, you know what? That's not really cool. I mean, maybe some guys you dated in the past use that as a form of expression or whatever the hell it is. I don't use the N word, never have, and it's really heartening when people use that word because no one should be using it regardless of what race you are. Black, white, Chinese, Asian, it don't matter. It should not be used as a word. It's not an endearment word. It's not a word that's cool. I mean, if you want to go a little deeper, so many people have fought for equality. Martin Luther King, Harry Tubman, Frederick Douglass, just name a few people that have fought not to be used that N word and then use it as endearment. So it's funny how I met someone that was totally different race to me, grew up in California,
She was using the
dated
word.
black man, but loved the N word. And I was like, hey, that's not cool. You know, regardless of what race you are, and you understand it's not cool. It's just not cool. And it's in my book, it's not cool. I mean, that's not nice to say. But we're not done with racism, and we're going to talk about race. So this is only one podcast of two. So there's going to be another podcast. We're going to have two wonderful young ladies talk about race because race is playing a part for them in their young life as of right now. So that'll be our next podcast coming up. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe because you want to listen to that because now you're not hearing from myself and Gloria. You're hearing from two youth individuals, two ladies, two different backgrounds, two different cultures, and how it's affecting their life. So as always, guys, it's always a time to think about being human, and that means with non-judgment. Being human means coming from a place of love, enthusiasm, peace, spirituality, and knowing that we have to be the change we want to see in the world. Because without the change we want to see, cycles will continue. Of course, old habits are hard to break. Old mindsets will always be there, but it doesn't mean you have to believe in that because what you hear is not true, right? It's true to you. And universal truth in the universe, racism doesn't exist. I'll say it again. In a universe, racism does not exist. Human beings create racism. It started off as just religion. Then, before you know it, became skin color, became culture, became a lot of different things. I mean, now it's even the point where certain words are being used as cultural norms. I want to be different. Clothing is considered cultural norms because we now come of a judgment. So if you do use the N word, cool. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just saying myself, it's not cool for me, right? Because it's true to me. So as always, I hope you guys can subscribe to the next podcast. This is obviously one part of two when it comes to race. And next time we talk about racism. Find me under Instagram, Facebook, Ron Johnson Life Coach, because I'm here to make you guys better, inspire you, motivate you, and know you have anything you want in this world you can achieve.
And this is Gloria, your life coach. And again, change the way you think. Be curious instead of stereotyping someone or judging somebody. Thanks again for listening to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.